Elliot!
I've got something to complain about.
Oh, I'm so ready for it.
Right, first of all, Black Friday in the UK is not a thing.
Okay.
Why? We don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Isn't Black Friday something to do with it's the last Friday before Thanksgiving or something?
It's the day after Thanksgiving, but I believe it is an unrelated term.
I thought it was to do with whatever. It's either way. It was a US thing that for some reason we've adopted. Secondly, why am I getting emails about Black Friday deals on a fucking Monday? It's not Friday.
So, okay. Apparently the history is that after a year of operating in the loss, people wanted to... businesses wanted to earn a profit after Thanksgiving because people wanted to buy stuff for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently it also has to do with sending the entire stock market into free fall in the late 1860s, and there was also some other bits. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's extended to be like the entirety of November for some ungodly reason.
Yeah. I mean,
back in my day, I camped outside of stores to get doorbuster TV deals, and like I remember buying my Xbox 360 on Black Friday because I saved $100 on my Xbox 360 bundle. It was a great deal.
Yeah.
And now I could just walk in the store and do it now.
I've had emails about Black Friday deals yesterday. Black Friday isn't till next Friday.
Yeah. Well,
what are we doing here?
How many of those deals are live right now?
One of them is.
Because most of these are like the whole month. I I've got it.
I got one that's it's just like 65% off store wide, which already should raise some red flags. 65% off store wide for Black Friday. Use this code. It's Monday.
I got one today that was early Black Friday deals, which at least you said it was early, but it's just called a sale when it's before Black Friday.
Yeah. Look, this is not. We can't be doing this. I mean, we can. I don't know why I'm complaining. All it means is things are cheaper. But they're only.
They'll raise the prices to make things cheaper.
Yeah, and if it could have been this cheap for all of November, it could have been this cheap for the rest of the fucking year. Thieves.
And here at TLDR, that's why we'll never have a Black Friday sale on our free product.
Yeah, and the newsletter's free, and it'll always be free. So, that's our Black Friday. Our Black Friday deal is if you give us our email, we will send you free newsletters twice a week.
Excellent. You get free podcasts here.
Yeah, you get free podcasts
could you ask
as well.
For? Just for the week. The rest of the year, it takes your time to listen to it. But this week, it's totally free.
And if you went to the Copenhagen Major, you also could have had a free magazine.
That's true. Or if you helped, write the magazine and stuff, you have a free magazine.
Well, yeah, there's also that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 2 copies still.
I've got a copy because my name's in it. All right, let's talk about
I quite egotistically keep one of the magazines on the coffee table as if somebody comes in, they can read it.
When I move out, it's supposed to go on the coffee table, but I also kind of want to frame it because I think it's cool just to have framed.
I keep one on a shelf in my bedroom.
Oh, actually, speaking of framing stuff, I've talked about the framing stuff, frames I have in here. Previously, in the background of my shot was the Counter Cubes poster, the Inferno one that I got sent a week or so before we came out with them.
Yeah.
It is taken until right now, on Saturday, for me to hang the Vertigo one next to it.
I've had a signed North shirt for, A, since North existed.
Yeah, North
B,
existed
since it's probably 5 years now, and I've still yet to buy a frame for it, which I need to do because I want to frame it.
The best part is this was pre-framed already. I got framed ones, and it just sat next to my desk on the ground, leaned up against the wall.
Well, part of the problem I have is that I was going to put it all up in this room, but for reasons I can't disclose just yet, I can't really decorate this room as an office right now.
Yeah,
so.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to figure out how to put the copy of Xbox Counter-Strike I have in between these two.
Wow.
Well, okay. You can't
buy a PC. That is gangster. That is gangster.
I own a real copy of Counter-Strike for the Xbox, because you can't really own a PC copy of the original Counter-Strike on disc.
I presume so. Yeah. I don't remember. I wasn't playing games on the PC when the original Counter-Strike came out.
Oh yeah, neither was I. I mean, Was I alive when the original Counter-Strike came out?
Are you older than ZywOo?
Counter-Strike released on my birthday.
Do you share a birthday with ZywOo?
My birthday is November 1st.
Because isn't the whole thing about ZywOo that he was born on the day that CS came out?
He's
November the 9th.
But when I just Google Counter-Strike release date, it says November 1st, 2000, which is the day I was born.
It does say that. But on Wikipedia, it just says it was released in November 2000.
All right. Someone needs to do some math for us here. Let's talk about the major, the big thing at the end of the year that we've been talking about for like 3 weeks. The America's RMR happened, and it's very different than we expected. So it started the day that we recorded on Tuesday last week, and it was over by Friday. And I don't think that you and I could have guessed what had happened here.
No, so one thing I will say is we did say something along the lines of, no, but like they're actually quite good about Wildcard.
We did say that.
I was quite big on no, they're actually decent. Like they're no mugs, and they went through 3-0. I mean, they were 2-0 at the time I said it, so I was kind of hedging my bets a little bit. But then they won their best of 3 against
Pain.
Is it 9Z?
Oh, 9Z.
Yeah, 9Z. Yeah, I mean, they just waltzed through.
And they looked good in that too. Like, they beat Pain, they beat Liquid in overtime, and beating they were the only team to beat Liquid this tournament.
They were also the only
RMR,
team to beat Pain.
Yeah, Pain was really good.
Pain and Liquid both only lost to Wildcard.
Wildcard is just better, man.
Yeah, but they had a really tough run.
Yeah, so it was Liquid into Pain into 9Z, and we had you and I, when we did our separate episode on everything you need to know about the major, put Liquid as the 5th best team.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you put Liquid as the 5th best.
I put Liquid as the 5th best team, but say that they're a top 8 team, which I feel quite confident in saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Wildcard beating them to start out, Pain's probably, top 15?
Yeah.
That showing up?
The top 15 and they're not in the top 10. But,
no.
You know.
9Z's like a plucky top 30 team. That's reasonable.
I mean, I quite like 9Z. I mean, they didn't do themselves any favors this RMR, I'll say that.
No, they didn't.
But like normally I think of 9Z as like hovering around the 20th in the world, I would say. I mean, I quite rate 9Z. I think they have a lot more ability than people think.
I think they're just generally they're very landlocked. They don't go to many.
Yeah, I think that's
events.
kind of the problem. They're landlocked in terms of they can't go to that many events and they can't consistently change players for similar reasons.
All right, so let's chat about this. So America's bracket, the 3-0 teams, Wildcard and MIBR.
Yeah, fine.
MIBR is a very reasonable team that you could have maybe guessed 3-0 because in your head you go, well, Liquid and Furia will both lose a game, so someone's got to be 3-0.
Yeah, like the thing with MIBR is they're going to let you down when the real games start, but they're pretty good domestically.
Yeah. So they will both go directly to the Legend stage. And then the 3-1 teams were Team Liquid, Complexity, and Pain. So far, other than Wildcard, we're basically where we expected to be.
Yeah, and I'll say I wasn't that surprised by Wildcard making it through.
No.
I was a bit surprised when they're going 3-0, but having watched them at ESL Challenger, I was like, these guys aren't terrible. Like they can play.
So then we get to the 3-2 team. So let's start with talking about the teams that were 2-2 to fight for 3-2, because not only did you have to be 3-2, you had to be 3-2 with the highest score to go through, and then 3-2 and win a 7th, 8th decider, because there's only 7 spots.
Yeah.
So the 2-2 teams were 9Z and Furia, which Furia won.
Yeah.
Imperial, Red Canids, which Imperial won.
Rest in peace, Henny.
And M80 Bestia, which M80 won. That was the only 3-mapper of those best of 3s.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, so after Imperial beat Red Canids, I believe it was determined that their schedule was the hardest, I think is how it worked.
I'm not 100% sure how it worked, to be honest. I was just kind of enjoying the chaos without really understanding it.
Yeah, so one of these teams automatically went through.
Automagically?
Yeah, it's a great word. Automatically went through. It's the Buchholz score, which has to do with...
Right.
So it's wins minus losses of everyone they've beaten.
Right.
So they beat Case, who had a -3, but they beat they played Case, they played MIBR, which canceled. There's some.
I know I say this a lot, but this is utter woke nonsense.
Oh, just get
the Buchholz system.
Don't have
woke.
it be 7 teams.
Yeah, just
stupid.
Unseeded Swiss is better than Buchholz.
Just
have 8 teams. Just have more teams. Well, just have more teams at the major. Yeah. Why not? 8 teams from RMR A in Europe, 8 teams from RMR B in Europe, 8 teams from Americas, 8 teams from Asia.
Isn't that... How did we...
It's like 3 from Asia, 7 from the Americas, 14 from Europe. I want...
Well,
that is 30
teams.
Yeah.
Wait.
I've sold...
Where's the... Somewhere we've done something. It's 7 plus 7. It's 14 from Europe. Plus 7 from the Americas.
Yeah, there's not 32 yet. There's 32 for the next one. There's not 32
supposedly
yet.
32 for the next. Okay. Well, that's dumb. Give us 32 now. Thanks.
Because there's 16 in the first stage and then 8 in the second stage already. So it's 24
right.
to go through,
it's
right?
24. Just give us 32. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Give us 32. 16 from Europe, 8 from Asia, 8 from Americas. Trust me.
I'm here for that. I'm so down for it. So that means Imperial went through 3-2 without having to play in the 7-8 decider. Furia and M80 both played in the 7-8 decider. In a best of 3, and Furia won 13-8 across the first 2 maps, meaning M80 will not make the major. Furia make it by the absolute skin of their goddamn teeth.
Yeah,
which
but
is a
also like
phrase, but
no, it's more that like being 3-2 is normally enough to go through, but like you've got through. Like they haven't got through, but it's more like M80 are out by the skin of their teeth. Furia deserved to go through because they were 3-2. Like that's to me, it's like you're through.
I mean, so were M80. They were also 3-2.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not that Furia got through. Luckily, it's like M80 are unlucky to go out. That's how I do say
I'm quite annoyed that we didn't get M80 stickers because I like the M80. I like the old M80 logo. The new M80 logo, I'm a little whatever about.
Yeah.
I am a little continued to be annoyed that we don't just have 8 teams and we have this stupid 7-8 game.
Yeah, it would just make more sense, wouldn't it? It would just be better for everyone.
Like, obviously, these teams are good enough that they went 3-2. They won the 3 games. Why do we have to make another fucking... okay, so teams that went out then. 9Z, Bestia, and Red Canids. They were on the 2-3. In the 1-3, Boss, Crew, and Legacy. And in the 0-3, we probably knew this last week, Case and Nouns. Nouns looked terrible this tournament.
Nouns have been terrible for a while, to be honest.
Yeah.
They used to be half decent. Like, they used to be what... I used to think Nouns were what Wildcard are. Like, a plucky, like, American-ish team. I mean, they are American. Wildcard aren't really. But, like, a plucky NA-based team who have the ability to beat anyone in the region, but also, you know, they don't do it consistently enough to be as good as to be the best team there, but they had the capability of being like the 5th best team in the region. Right, that's like what Wildcard are. It's what I thought Nouns were, but Nouns never had an event like Wildcard just had.
Yeah, they were not particularly great that event. I continue to believe that George needs a real shout on a real North American team, because even though they were bad, he was good. Supposedly
with George Snorts. I'll always call him George Snorts. Yeah. The problem is his communication rather than his skill, because he is skilled.
He is quite good at the video game. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so, he's talented.
What more do we need to talk about here? Is there anything more we need to touch on with the Americas RMR? This went, other than I would say Wildcard, this went probably as basically everyone watching expected.
I'll say we talked quite highly about Legacy and Dumao, and then they absolutely shit the bed after beating Furia.
They did do that.
And 9Z went from 0-2 to 2-0 to 2-3 without winning a map. That's also bad.
They did have quite a difficult run there. I don't know if you saw it. So
yeah, Wildcard Pain Fury.
Wildcard Pain Fury. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, once you lose to Wildcard, you kind of doom yourself in that situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, but they did have a tough loss run there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But you have 3 chances. You got to win one of them. You got to at least win a map. Come on.
M80, I think probably should have made the major. They lost that first round against Boss, and I think that screwed them up for the entire way.
Yeah.
They were able to beat Nouns. They lost to Liquid. They beat Boss again. Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at Bestia. They lost to Boss. They beat Red Canids. They beat Legacy. They lose to Complexity, which is an expected thing. They beat Bestia.
Well, M80 did what you'd expect them to do, which is go 3-2.
Yeah.
It's just that's not enough in this weird system. They then had to play Furia, who like
kind of
you're gonna lose to Furia. Furia domestically are a beast. I mean, I know they went 3-2, so they weren't that good, but like they lost to Liquid and they lost a best of 1 to Legacy. It's like you don't want to play Furia in a best of 3 for qualification if you're an American team. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think there were good signs for M80 there, other than Swisher, who kind of looked like garbage this event.
I mean, friend of the podcast, Swisher.
Friend of the podcast, Swisher.
Let's not be too mean.
No, I'm sorry, Swisher. Lake looked great.
Yeah, I mean, Lake always looks good. Like
I know, but
I don't know where they found him from. He's so good. The thing is, like, Malbs, everyone kind of knew was good. Like, everyone who'd watched Malbs knew he was good. There were people who said, "Oh, he doesn't do it," whatever. Like people who watched him twice a year thought he was bad. Don't give a shit about them. Everyone who watched Malbs play knew he was good. Nobody seemed to know Lake was good. So like they found Malbs, and it's like, yeah, well done. I could have told you that. But then they found Lake, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening. You've got you know something I don't.
I was unfamiliar with your game.
I was unfamiliar with your scouting game.
All right,
did not know you could do this.
Let's go talk about Europe A. So this is the one that is going on currently as we speak. It will go on through tomorrow, which is the day the podcast gets published.
Yes.
We already have some of the answers here. So we've got 5 teams through already. If you had told me to start that in this in this set that had Vitality, Mouse, Na'Vi, and FaZe in it, that Vitality and Mouse would be the 3-0 teams, I would have gone, yeah, that sounds about right.
Do you know what this looks like? This looks like... if you told me this was last Major's RMR, I would believe you. Vitality and Mouse at 3-0.
Yeah.
Na'Vi, Cloud9, FaZe at 3-1. And then you look at you're like, yeah, Falcons, Namiga, Sangal all 1-3. Yeah, they're nobodies. Unity, Rebels. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh look, Sora doing well for the first time. Do you know what I mean? It looks like last Major's RMR because Cloud9 are 3-1, and you look, yeah, Cloud9 just got through easily. Axon and Shira must be playing so well.
I'm so happy that I decided to put Cloud9 in our pre-major video.
Yeah, we talked about how bad they were. I seem to remember. Yeah.
But I'm glad that we put them in because we did say for any of those teams, there's a non-zero chance they get out of the RMR.
Oh yeah, of course.
Here's the non-zero chance right here.
RMRs are great because anyone can just sort of show up for 3 days and go through. You only need to go 3-2 most of the time. I mean, whatever.
All right, let's start at the top. Let's jump down. So Europe A, Vitality and Mouse both went through 3-0. They beat a bunch of teams.
And beat somebody.
The only things you really need to care about here is that they beat in the round 3 in the qualification round. Mouse beat Na'Vi and Vitality beat FaZe.
Mouse beating Na'Vi is actually quite big.
I definitely agree. But both Na'Vi and FaZe then went through in the 2-1 best of 3s.
Of course.
This was not a bad, but they did that. This was more of a...
Yeah.
The teams you expect to get through, got through, and it wasn't like Na'Vi had lost some like terrible match somewhere in there. They got to 2-1 because they lost a best of 3 against
Because they lost yeah.
Someone's got to go 3-1, and it's fine. So they both went through 3-0. Na'Vi and FaZe went through 3-1, in addition to Cloud9, which I don't think most people expect. Actually, we didn't even expect.
We didn't. But then I didn't know Icy was the best player in the world. So,
yeah.
you know. In my defense, I didn't realize Icy was better than Donk and Simple combined. So I don't know how I was supposed to know that.
I will say that Cloud9 had a quite easy run to get through. They lost to FaZe in the best of one. They beat Omega, Sangal, and Sinners.
Yeah.
Sinners isn't a bad team, but they're not. They're not the cream of the crop that you would expect to be at the 2-1 slot best of 3.
Yeah, I mean that is the case. That is the sort of kicker. They didn't beat anyone good, but then there isn't that many good teams for them to play against.
Yeah, so when we came into this, we talked this last week. You and I were pretty certain Vitality, Mouse, Na'Vi, FaZe were going to make it through.
Yeah.
And then we started to have some questions about everyone else. I think we said Saw and Gamer Legion would make it through. And then we left that last team to just be kind of floating, that it could kind of really be anyone.
Yeah, I wasn't that high on Gamer Legion. I thought they looked quite decent against Falcons, but like Falcons are so horrendous, it's really hard to know. Like Falcons are bad. We'll get on to them.
Yeah, we'll get to them later. So there were definitely beatable teams here, I think is what we're trying to say. It didn't feel like there were 7 or 8 or 9 teams that had to make it through, and that your road was going to be hard regardless of who you were. These top 4 teams should have made it through every day of the week. The FaZe, Na'Vi, Mao's Vitality should have made it through every single day of the week, and the rest of the slots were absolutely up for grabs. So seeing Sinners there isn't like the most wacky thing. Seeing Cloud9 there, a little wacky, but not the most wacky thing. Icy had incredible games though. So in that best of 3 against Sinners, plus 26 KD, a 1.47 rating over 3 maps, with a 2 flat on the first Mirage. His lowest being a 116.
Yeah,
disgusting.
Or 106. Yeah, he Yeah, I mean, his rating for the RMR was insane, and then he's kind of not great in the 4th place match that for some reason happened. Nobody seems to know why there's a 4th place match.
I don't understand either, because it doesn't...
The winner qualifies straight to the elimination stage.
But I thought that was determined by Valve rankings now.
Apparently Valve changed their mind. Nobody seems to know what's going on, so...
someone on Twitter has a thread on this, on what what the rule book says versus what PGL is saying.
Messioso was talking about it.
Yeah, Messioso. Because PGL's running the Perfect World Major, so someone's unsure there.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 3 and 1 teams. 3 and 2 teams still have to be determined. So let's
as you listen to this, you'll know who the 3-2 teams are.
I'm going to jump past the 3-2 and the 2-3 teams for right now. I want to talk about the 0-3 and the 1-3 teams, and then we can talk about predictions regarding the last 3 teams that make the major. The last 2 teams. Because, again, it's 7 teams for some fucking reason who make the major. So 0-3, to my expectation, was Rebels and Unity. I didn't expect much from either of these teams, and I'm glad to say that they didn't expect much back.
Yeah, I mean... Rebels turned up for like one event a while ago. It was like Katowice or something where they beat FaZe, and not everyone, like the casters obviously having to tell the story of like, their home team and just beating FaZe. It's like, yeah, sometimes FaZe just shit the bed. It's just that's all that happens. Rebels have basically done nothing since. They're not horrendous because no team at the RMR is horrendous, and they've got some players you'll know, but this is the big leagues now. Sorry.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. Neither of them, I would say, had particularly difficult runs either. Like,
Rebels didn't lose to anyone good. Supposedly, I didn't watch it because I'm not a masochist, and I was watching the actual half decent game. Apparently, Rebels Namiga was one of the worst games of the century.
Is it worse than any Amcol Nip game?
Apparently.
Oh, God.
Apparently it was that
I
level.
haven't looked long enough at the RMR B, but I'm really hoping that both of them are not in that RMR, because I'm going to be really disappointed, because inevitably we will have that.
NIP are there. I'm not sure Amcala.
I'm not sure there either.
I didn't watch it. I was following Striker at HLTV. He was tweeting about it. He was having a bit of a breakdown during it. And I just saw people saying, because because Namiga, from what I gather, came in as like a lot of people were talking about them as a potential qualifying team. Apparently they were really good at Ancient and Anubis. Like I heard all these good things about Namiga. They were not good. They were not good. The only team they beat was Rebels in what was apparently one of the worst games of all time. I haven't seen it. I'm not sure I want to go back. I kind of want to go back and watch it, at least the highlights. But yeah, apparently that game was terrible. And that was the only game they won.
Yeah. So the 1-3 teams were Namiga, Sangal, and Team Falcons.
So this morning, I woke up.
Yes.
That is how it works. About 9:30. I turned on the TV. I was like, right, let's put on the third map because I'd seen it had gone to a third map, Falcons versus Gamer Legion. And the thing with Falcons is obviously we all know these players. We know what's going through. Have you ever tried to explain to somebody Team Falcon? Because I tried to explain to my wife this morning. It's like, oh yeah, so this guy here has won more majors than anyone else in history. The coach has won 5 majors. This guy here has won 4 majors. This guy, best player of all time. This team's fucking terrible. Doesn't make any sense. How do you explain that? They're the richest team in the world. They're the greatest player of all time. Fucking 15 majors between them, and they can't win a game. Like they lost to Gamer Legion at an RMR. Like, I know this is what we've come to expect of Falcons because they've just been this bad for a while, but it's borderline insane when you think about who these players are. And you try to explain that to somebody who doesn't have the same emotional investment. You're like, yeah, how is this team so bad? I tweeted out that it's like watching North. Because I haven't seen a team since North who seem to be so unaware that CTs can change position or push or flank you. Like, they just seem to operate... North were the same way. If they were just standing mid for about 15 seconds, setting up grenades, if you let them get it off, they would kill you. They would get through connector, they would kill... Like, their executes were flawless. The problem was, especially against mediocre teams, somebody will just peek window and there's 4 of you with grenades out not looking, and you die. The amount of times Flamus just ran through apps and was flanking them at like 1 minute 15. And at no point did anyone check the flank. And this happened 4 or 5 times on their T side. They just seemed so unaware that the CTs could push things. That the CTs could do something that they weren't ready for. Which is exactly why North lost so many games. Because they were just sort of... They were like a combo deck in a card game where it's like if you let them get the combo off, they are going to win. Yeah. But if you play against aggro and you're trying to set up your combos, you just fucked. Like you got no chance. Like
this team shouldn't be as bad as it is. It continues to be as terrible as it is, and it's not that they played 3 opponents that they should have won against.
No.
Like, let's be very clear here. It's not that they played... let me rephrase it. It's not that they played 3 opponents that they should have lost against. Like, if you just kind of get stuck in this and feel like shit, that you, like, maybe somehow you play, like... maybe you play Mouse into FaZe, into Na'Vi, into Vitality or some shit. Like, if you manage to hit, like, that magical, terrible run... That's one thing that's like, okay, well, you cut them a little slack. You lost to the top 4 teams of the RMR who were playing like shit. They lost to SAW, they lost to FaZe, and they lost to Gamer Legion. I can vaguely get FaZe, though FaZe don't look like FaZe.
At the moment, FaZe probably better than Falcons.
Yeah, well, I'd say they're better.
FaZe are definitely better than Falcons. FaZe, even... Though I still don't think FaZe are good. I still don't think they're good. It doesn't matter. I just don't think they're good. They're still pretty decent. Like there's a limit on how bad a team with Karrigan, Rops, and Frozen can be. The team will always be at least decent. But then you'd think the same of Simple, Magisk, and Dupree, and it isn't true. So I don't know. SAW are a decent team, but they're not as good as they were, I don't think, with Agile instead of Arislos. Gamer Legion, they're fine. But, like, look, if I'm Gamer Legion, I'm annoyed I've dropped a map. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Falcons look fucking terrible on Mirage. They were so, like, their T-side, embarrassing. I feel bad because it didn't look like a Snappy T-side. It looked...
No.
Like, Snappy was known for his fast, aggressive play, and there was none of that. It was meandering. It was... Things were just going wrong that shouldn't have done. There was a round late on where they took A. Flamus just ran through B and was flanking at like 120. But they pop flashed through the CT smoke with like 3 people. And there was just 3 CTs. I think they were all playing anti-flash and they just all died. All the Falcons players just died without a kill. And you're like, I get the idea, but it just looks so bad. It looks so badly thought out. If like at least 2 of them, I think, were anti-flash. Like, it's too telegraphed. Like it seems too telegraphed in that case. And they say Flamus flanked them so many times, especially on their A hits. And there was one on the B as well where he flanked, and Falcons were just running and jumping on sight as he just walks in and kills 2 of them. It's like it was so reminiscent of North. It was actually quite painful.
Alrighty. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about Falcons anymore.
Yeah, it's depressing me.
Alright.
Thing is, I know people don't like the Falcons org, but I don't like to see Dupree lose. I don't like to see Simple lose. I don't know. It's annoying.
Alright, let's finish this out. 2-2 set in the major RMR A for Europe. Sinners against Gamer Legion, Fnatic against Eclot, and Bet Boom against Saw. If you look at this, my bet should be probably Gamer Legion, Fnatic, Saw winning these 3 matches.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me to see Sinners win over Gamer Legion.
Sinners Gamer Legion, I think, is pretty close.
I think it's close. And it wouldn't totally surprise me to see Bet Boom over Saw. I don't think it should happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did.
Yeah, Bet Boom Saw is good. I think Sinners might be better than Gamer Legion.
Okay.
Their losses are like a 1-2 loss to a Cloud9 team that looks quite good. And losing to Na'Vi. They've beaten Saw. They've beaten Eclot, who... Eclot seemed like no pushovers. Like, this team, results-wise, looks pretty solid. I've not been able to watch that much of their games. Most of the games happen at like 6 a.m. for me. And it's not happening.
3 in the morning for me, so I can't say they're much better
Yeah.
here.
Well, it starts at 4 a.m. for me, so...
I think it's 10 p.m. for me, which isn't terrible, but I work a real job that I require to get up normally.
Gamer Legion's wins are against Unity, who nobody expected to be any good, and a Falcons team that looked poor. I mean, again, you can only beat who you come up against, but those Falcons looked bad, and I just don't think a win over Falcons, as nice as it feels, it doesn't fill me with any confidence that Game Legion are actually any good. And 2-2 game, you're looking for your big star to step up. Oscar's got so much more experience than anyone on Game Legion. Just give him an AWP and let him fry.
Oscar's still so good.
Yeah, he's still good.
Fnatic, Eclot, I would think should be Fnatic.
Yeah, again, Fnatic, when you look at their losses, Na'Vi and FaZe, expected losses. They beat Rebels handily. They beat Bet Boom, who are scary. Not scary, but they're a banana skin team. Fnatic, I think, will beat them quite comfortably, probably a 2-0.
I'm sorry, a what team?
Banana skin.
What?
Never heard that phrase. A banana skin team. It's like a team you might slip up against.
I've never heard that before.
It's like, yeah, it's like an upset team.
All right.
People say oh, you avoided a banana skin if you beat a team you're supposed to beat.
Never heard that.
Oh, maybe it's an English phrase.
I get it. I've never heard it. Okay, so out of the 4 teams that are left, that we think could possibly make it, right? So Saw, Fnatic, Gamer Legion, Sinners, which I'll put as our favorites right now. I'm not going to bother picking between Gamer Legion and Sinners right now. Only 2 of them can make it. I will say if Sinners win, they are guaranteed through. If Sinners lose, Fnatic is guaranteed through if they win, because we have the 7-8 match again. Regardless, if Saw win, they will play in the 7-8 match against someone. So, who's your thought for the two teams making through? I'm pretty comfortable saying Fnatic will.
Yeah, I think it'd be Fnatic and Sinners. Because I think it'll be Fnatic Saw in the 7-8. It might be Fnatic BetBoom, honestly. Saw, again, their only wins are Unity and Falcons. Doesn't fill you with loads of confidence. But then they only lost to Sinners and Navi, who I both think are quite good. So it's quite hard to place Saw at the moment. BetBoom are always hard to place because they're round on round. They go from the best team in the world to the worst. They have so much talent. I don't think a lot of people actually realise how talented this BetBoom team is. Zorti,
Siren, and Chiron is ridiculous.
Yeah, I had a professional coach tell me once, he's like, Zorti is, in like pracs, in scrims, nobody is quicker than Zorti. He's the quickest AWPer they've ever played against. I'm like, not sure he's quicker than Monacy, but apparently
if you're willing to say it, like...
Yeah, like, he is very talented. We all know that. Siren... He's hit and miss, but he's a pretty solid anchor. Chiron is very gifted, but very up and down. Magnajez, everyone knows, is really gifted. Like, that team, again, if everything clicks for BetBoom, they could be like the 10th best team in the world if something clicks at some point. But so far, it doesn't ever seem like it doesn't ever look like it's going to click. I think is the problem with them. But at any given day, they can win. But I don't think they'll beat Fnatic even if they beat Saw.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to Qualifier B. Qualifier B will start on Thursday, and it will finish before we record next week. I believe we actually... I don't think the major starts next week. I think we have a week break. But not by much.
I'm not certain.
I'm not sure either.
The opening stage starts on November the 30th.
3rd.
Yeah, it's just like 5 days afterwards. 5-6 days afterwards.
Yep. So we'll do our major show on the 26th next week. But last RMR will start tomorrow, 2 days from now. 2 days from recording tomorrow as you're listening to this. Teams included G2, Spirit, Eternal Fire, Virtus Pro, Heroic, Astralis, Awful New Logo 3D Max, Ninjas in Pajamas, Aurora, TSM, Paravision, Bait, Passion UA, Nine Pandas, Big, and Sashi.
There's absolutely no way on earth at some point in this event G2 don't lose to B8.
That's bait right there.
There's no way. There's no way they don't lose to B8 at some point in this event. G2 are not going 3-0.
No, they're not. There's no shot.
Don't get me wrong. G2 comfortably the best team in this group. They're not going 3-0, and I don't know how or why, but they're not. Heroic are somehow going to go 3-0 and then shit the bed at the major.
That sounds about right.
So that's my prediction for this group.
These have been released. Yeah. Okay. So matches have already been released.
I'm gutted that G2 NIP is at 4:00 in the morning.
I would watch that shit.
I would watch the shit out of G2 13 NIP 4.
11 p.m. for me. Is that a watchable game?
No, it's at 11 p.m. for you.
It'd be 11 p.m. for me. That's a watchable game, folks.
4 a.m. for me. I'd love to watch Monacy take the piss out of NIP. Love to.
All right. Let's start by talking about this. I feel confident in saying 4 of these teams will make the major.
Are you?
This is like I don't know if you've seen, but there's a bunch of podcasts and shows that have started doing like That's Cap, I think it's called.
Right.
And they'll say I can name X amount of players. Or,
right. Yeah. Okay.
They keep going until someone says that's Cap, and then you got to do it. Okay.
Yeah, we call it categories, but yeah.
I can name 4 teams that should make the major.
Yeah, that's Cap.
Yep, it probably is. So
I can name 1.
G2.
Again, comfortably the best team here.
Yeah.
When has that mattered to G2?
Never. Okay, so I feel that I can say that G2, Spirit, Eternal Fire, and Astralis should all make the major.
Astralis without device?
Oh shit, I forgot Astralis doesn't have device. Never mind. I'm confident in saying 3 teams can make the major.
I don't know why. I am confident Heroic are going 3-0.
What would their path be?
Look,
right, so
the problem is this whole group is full of ridiculously unpredictable teams.
yeah,
Heroic are like a constant 8 out of 10. They're never going to win an event, but they're rarely bad, and I think they're just going to who do they even start against? They'll play
Paravision.
Okay. They'll beat Paravision quite comfortably.
Paravision's not a bad team.
Don't care. They'll beat them comfortably.
I'm not saying they shouldn't beat them. I'm just saying it's not a bad team. That's Artfrost, Patsy, and Keeker. That's not a bad team.
Sure.
And it is, to quote you, a team of Russians in the RMR.
Yeah, that's this entire group. This entire group is Spirit, Virtus Pro, Aurora, Paravision B8, Passion UA, 9 Pandas, CIS teams with a high ceiling, low floor. This whole group is banana skins. It's an entire group of banana skins, and G2, the team with the worst grip shoes in the entire world.
You know what's really funny? This group, you are either Danish or from CIS, and there's 2 exceptions to that rule.
Is it Eternal Fire?
It's Eternal Fire, NIP, and 3D Max.
Yeah. And
That's
well,
basically-
G2.
G2 are half CIS.
Fine. I mean, they've got
not really.
If you suggest Monacy is half their team, then
yeah, I was saying Monacy counts for 4 players, so it's fine.
Yeah, fine. Heroic will just go 3-0. The other 3-0 team, I've got no idea, but it's not G2.
It's not G2.
There's absolutely no way anyone would bet any money on G2 beating any 3 of these teams in a row. You can pick your 3 teams. They will not beat those 3 teams in a row.
I think there's a real shout for Eternal Fire being a 3-0 team.
Yeah, but Eternal Fire never seem to go 3-0. They're like a permanent 3-1.
Yes, but in this group... do
you know how difficult it is to not lose to Aurora, B8, Passion UA, Paravision?
All right,
versus Pro.
Let's back our way.
You know how hard this is.
I think let's back our way into this, okay? I feel confident in saying TSM and Sashi will be 0-3 teams.
I feel confident. I kind of forget the Big are there as well. I have no concept of how good Big are, but they do have 1/5 of the Bad News Eagles Chaos Emerald. There's no other Bad News Eagles players here.
They have Searson and Crimbo, who's actually a good player.
Yeah, Crimbo is one of the better players in this group. He's top 5. The top 5, you got Monacy, Nico, Donk, Jantares, Crimbo, Nerds, probably.
Yabby for 1 game of the tournament.
Yeah, astounding groups, fine. But then if you count in 1 game peaks, I can name you 100 of Aurora B8, Passion UA. That's the point. It's so difficult to go 3-0. The easiest path to go 3-0 is play Astralis, Eternal Fire, Spirit. You got more chance of beating all 3 of those in a row than you have of beating B8, 9 Pandas, and Paravision in a row.
Okay, I am willing to say ahead of time, Sashi will be an 0-3 team.
Yeah,
solely because they are coached by Hunden.
I think Passion UA might go 0-3. I don't think
you think Passion UA might go 0-3? I am willing to agree and be okay with that.
From what I've heard from people who've played against them, don't seem to think they're any good.
Okay.
So.
I'm okay saying they're not any good. 9 Pandas always are vaguely decent, which scares the shit out of me, by the way.
Look, I will not. At some point in this RMR, IDIS balance is going to 30 bomb. I hope it's in an 0-2 game against NIP. That's what I want.
Okay, but they have 30-year-old Prodigy glowing on this team, okay?
Yeah. You know what I was saying last week?
Major?
Do you know what I was saying last week about flying and how it's weird to have a name that's a verb that's currently being done?
Yeah.
Glowing. He's currently glowing. The same thing.
Okay, sorry. We're gonna. We're gonna have to have a chat after this game. After this, because I have a team we need to talk about.
This 9 Pandas team is good though. Man for man, this 9 Pandas team is really good.
I know. That's why I'm saying this.
They might make it through. But then I think Aurora are good as well.
I hate all of this. I hate everything.
Like, the problem with Aurora is that their best player is Deco. And I don't know how much you know of Deco. He's
all over the fucking place.
Fucking nut job. I promise you that you should just go and look. There's a video on YouTube of like Deco flaming his team, and it's like half in English, half in Russian. It's the funniest thing in the world. Like, I can't even repeat it on here because he uses a word that is probably cancelable. But he's so funny when he's just flaming his teammates for not being able to take mid on Mirage. He's great. But the problem is, at some point, like, he will just decide he's not AWPing for a day, and then Aurora can't win.
Yeah.
But when he AWPs, he's really good.
All right, I'll give you another team I'm confident will not make it through. I am confident saying the Ninjas in Pajamas will not make it through.
Yeah. Again, NIP, if they come up against Aurora or B8, I think they get their shit pushed in. I don't.
It's so.
I don't know. I've not really watched NIP recently, but that's partly because they're not very good. So they don't actually play at any events. Yeah, quite. But like, I'm sick of watching Rez. He's not very good. It's just how I'm sick of NIP. But then they do have Wrinkle, he is quite fun to watch. And it's actually just a shame Wrinkle isn't on one of the other CIS teams, because then he would be more fun to watch.
Well, what's really funny is NIP moved away from Headtrick, who went to Bait,
and he's good on
a better team than NIP.
Yeah, he's good on Bait as well.
This Bait team is really funny because it's just former NIP players and a couple other Ukrainians.
It's one former NIP player.
No, for some reason I thought MPL was on Bait for a little bit. Was on NIP.
No,
seems like a player that could have been on NIP.
B8 are a strange team in that they have NPL and Headtrick, who we've seen kind of not be good enough at Tier 1. But they were not good enough at Tier 1 in, like, weird conditions. Yeah. And they're both quite good on this team. And Captain Kurtko23 is one of my favourite players in the world.
Excellent name. We say it every time.
Again, he's like, most of the time he's average, and then he'll just have this pop-off map where things just click for him, and it's quite difficult when you're watching him to see why they're working, because nothing he does seems to make much sense.
Is he a Captain Mo style player that changed his name once he was given the reins to this team?
I don't think so. I'm not sure he's the in-game leader. I think it might be NPL, but I'm not certain.
All right. So yeah, our professional analysis of this group is, I have no fucking clue.
Look, Heroic go 3-0. Then there's a Soup in the middle, and then the Sashi at the bottom.
Yeah, that's. I can see that.
I think Big get through.
I think Big could probably.
I just got a feeling. I think Astralis will get through even without Device.
I think Astralis will get through and then get their shit pushed in once we hit the major.
We haven't really talked about Device.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So he's missing for health reasons, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But Astralis are in like this weird place where.
Wait, they may be better. Wait. Wait. So, they may be better without Device. And I know that sounds fucking insane, but that means you have Cadian go back to opping.
Of any team, they are maybe the best placed team in the entire world to lose their star player. Because,
their star AWPer, specifically. Their star AWPer.
Because they just have another AWPer who wasn't AWPing, who can just take over. And then they bring in Bro, who, like... nobody's as good at Shush at what Shush does. But Bro is like a decent tribute act. And you could just plug him in. You've still got Stown and Yavi. And then you've got like the other Astralis. But Stare is just like Tesses. So that kind of makes sense in my head as well. I'm like, this is kind of just Heroic from when they were good.
Oh, I hate all this.
It's kind of like a weird Heroic. I think they get through.
I think they get through. I think they get their shit pushed in, because I think what Cadian's going to do is basically try and get Stare and Bro to buy into the old Heroic style, because Device is not there. And normally when you have Device, you play around Device. But because Cadian hasn't played under a non-Cadian system with him opping, right, because it's different than playing in the Cadian system with Device opping. I think Cadian falls back to Heroic/Liquid tendencies, and they make Bro and Stare change,
Yeah.
And I think they'll be fine up until they hit anyone of consequence, and then they will suck as the Heroic team did.
Yeah, fine.
Because they don't have shush.
They'll still get through. But
I think they'll get through. I'm just saying, once we hit the major, separate matter.
But then, like, Danish Counter-Strike players are completely unique in that they just love systems. You can just plug them into any system, and they're always fine. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good they are. They will follow your words to a T, and they'll do exactly what you tell them to. If you play against Danes on Faceit, they run, like, full strats. They run full executes. This is just the way Danes are. Yeah, no, it's true. It's not a myth. If you play against a stack of Danes on Faceit, they will run the most disgusting execute you've ever seen. Danish Counter-Strike players they're just uniquely used to following instructions. Stare and Bro, if you just put them in that heroic system, they'll probably look better than they do now. I actually think Astralis will do quite well because I think Cadian will just call like they're heroic, and not a lot of these teams are not structured enough to deal with it, and I think Astralis will go through. G2 will like sneak through. They'll lose to somebody they shouldn't.
They'll lose to someone,
but they'll get. Monacy won't let them lose more than one game, but they probably will lose one game. Spirit, jury's out. They're clearly good, but they also have such a soft underbelly.
Yeah.
Eternal Fire, they'll get through.
I have a suspicion 3D Max will make it through, and I have absolutely nothing to put behind that. It's one of those gut calls. I think 3D Max and Big will both make it through.
I think B8 will go through.
I'd be.
Who am I 7? Spirit, G2, Eternal Fire, Heroic.
I don't think Virtus Pro makes it through.
No, I'm kind of thinking the same. Big, B8, 9 Pandas go out in the 7-8 game. Virtus Pro go 2-3.
There is a big, like, middle. No, you know what? No, Virtus Pro go 3-2, play in the 7-8 game and lose.
That's possible as well.
That's the most Virtus Pro shit I've ever heard.
That is very Virtus Pro. But I think that might be 9 Pandas. I think 9 Pandas...
Isn't that what happened with 9 Pandas last major? Or 2 majors
it's kind of what... No, they actually made it through, if I remember rightly.
Oh, yeah, they barely...
Glowing went absolutely bonkers.
30-year-old Prodigy Glowing, yeah.
Yeah, he went absolutely insane in the biggest match of his life. I love it when that shit happens. I remember Drop in the Rio quarterfinal had the most insane map of his entire life. He's literally never been that good since or before. Never. That he's actually just rubbish most of the time. But he was so good for one map in the biggest game of his career. I love that shit. I'll always respect him for that.
Also, one more. The old guys still got it bit. Remember, we've talked about Guardian playing for BC Game. The team. They brought in Jacom and Casanito. They already had Lecro. They had Prime Taps. It turns out they are trialing coaches now instead of pulling Guardian back to being a coach.
So he's gonna play.
So he's playing.
Come on, again. I didn't even like Guardian as a player. Now he's old. I want to see him play again. That's great. I don't want him to ever retire. Nobody should ever retire. This is my platform.
So the coach on trial is 29 years old. Okay.
So he's
out of the 5
younger
players
than
on the team, 3 of the players are older than him.
It's ridiculous. There's a stat about hang on, let me find the stat. There's a footballer called James Milner. He's quite famous, but he's 8 years older than his manager. So when he made his professional debut in the Premier League, his manager was 8 years old.
Okay, I mean this is the JJ Redick LeBron James conversation.
Yeah,
right. JJ Redick's the coach of the Lakers now.
He's younger than.
He's young. He's 40, and I think LeBron is 42. LeBron's 39, so he's older than LeBron by 1 year. But in the time that LeBron's been in the league, JJ Redick had like a very good college career into multiple, like I don't remember what the stat was, but he basically had an incredibly good college career, had an incredibly good role player career, retired, podcasted for 4 years, and has come back as a Laker coach, and LeBron has just still been an all-star the whole time.
Yeah, it's mad. People like to say age doesn't matter, and that's a lie.
It does, but
if you really take good care of yourself, you can last a bit longer.
If you're LeBron James, you too can play basketball for a lot of seasons.
I mean, like, if you're LeBron James, you can do a lot of things that I can't currently do.
He spends $2 million a year on his upkeep of his body. It's insane.
He earns a lot more than that. So
he earns a lot more than $2 million a year. That is correct.
that's my fact for the day.
His net worth, according to Forbes, $1.2 billion, which I will say is more than you and I together.
And it's about as much as Falcons are going to spend after the major.
And on that note, we'll end for today. This episode was produced by James Serpa, edited by Mac. You can find us on Twitter at LoganRamp, at AZS, and at ReTLDR. We'll be back again next week. Talk about the major.
The what?
It's the small event that's happening in China. Generally, we wouldn't talk about it, but...